I was left with 2 children and an empty wallet. I asked for only one thing, help for our sons. And he laughed, brought me $30 and fled to a life of luxury. I was silent, until the day of the trial. My name is Emily. I used to believe in forever. Not just in the hazy, hopeful way teenagers do when they scribble hearts in the margins of notebooks, but in the gritty, stubborn way a woman does when she's elbow-deep in diapers and dishes, praying the man she loves is fighting just as hard to build something real. Alex and I met when we were both 24. He had grease-stained fingers and a dream, opening his own auto repair shop. I had just started teaching 2nd grade and believed that love was about showing up, every day in the small ways that mattered. He said I made him feel grounded. I said he made me feel alive. It was easy then. Simple. We'd split a beer on the porch and talk about the future like it was a song we hadn't learned all the words to yet, but we knew the tune. When Ethan was born, everything changed. Not in a bad way, just deeper. Weightier. Like suddenly we were carrying a third heartbeat between us. I quit my job a year later, not because I didn't want to work, but because Alex needed help with the business and someone had to be home with Ethan. We're building something big, he'd say, arms wrapped around me in the kitchen, the scent of motor oil still clinging to his shirt. You'll see. One day we'll look back and laugh at how broke we were. We struggled, sure. We stretched pennies and sacrificed sleep. But I believed in him. I believed in us. Then came Liam, our second miracle. Unexpected, yes. But love from the moment I saw those 2 pink lines. By then the shop was expanding. A second location opened across town. Alex started talking about franchising. He met investors, went on business trips. Olivia came into the picture then, the hospitality coordinator, from the boutique hotel he helped renovate. I remember the day I met her. She shook my hand with nails painted nude and a smile that was just a little too tight. You must be the lucky wife, she'd said. I was. Or so I thought. The change was slow at first. He stopped texting to check in. Stopped sitting down for dinner. I told myself it was just the stress, that success had a price. That we'd reconnect when things settled. Then one evening while I was folding laundry and Liam was playing with blocks on the floor, Alex walked in with that casual cruelty some people mistake for honesty. I want freedom, he said. I blinked. What? You only live once, Em. I can't breathe in this life anymore. I need space. I need me back. He said it like he was ordering takeout. Calm. Final. I laughed, actually laughed, thinking it was a joke. But he didn't flinch. Didn't smile. A week later he packed a suitcase and moved in with Olivia. He didn't take a photo of the kids. He didn't say goodbye. I stood in the doorway with Liam on my hip, Ethan silent behind me, and watched the man I had given my 20s, my career, my body and my blind loyalty to, walk away like we were furniture he'd outgrown. I didn't cry that night. Not because I wasn't breaking, but because there wasn't time. Because Ethan asked me in a voice barely above a whisper, Mom, are we gonna be okay? And somehow I nodded. I thought the worst part was the leaving. But it wasn't. It was the quiet that came after. The kind that wraps around your house like fog and seeps into everything, the milk-stained bib on the kitchen counter, the Legos underfoot, Ethan's unread messages on his phone. There were no more calls saying, I'll be late, or texts saying, miss you. Just silence. Until the envelope came. It was thick, legal paper, cold language, and numbers that cut sharper than any insult ever could. I had filed for child support. Not because I wanted revenge. Not because I was greedy like Alex would later tell anyone who'd listen. But because Ethan needed braces and Liam still wet the bed some nights and groceries didn't care that the man who helped make them had suddenly decided he was too wild for a mortgage and a minivan. The court calculated the amount fairly, $2,000 a month. For 2 growing boys. I'd seen the accounts. Alex had bragged about the income from the new Chicago branch. I knew what the shop was pulling in. I knew about the investments, the new clients. He had even posted a picture on Facebook of a steak dinner with a caption that read, closing deals like a boss. But when the court order landed, he changed again. Suddenly, Alex was broke. Suddenly, he was earning minimum wage. Suddenly, the man who once gifted Olivia a diamond bracelet was handing me 30 crumpled dollars and saying, that's all I can give right now. He didn't look embarrassed. He looked smug. Then came the appeal. Pages of twisted logic and venomous accusations. That my father, a retired judge who spent his final years reading poetry and feeding birds in his backyard, was bribing the system. That I was manipulating the kids. That this was all part of some grand vendetta because I couldn't stand to see him happy. He went further. They've destroyed me. Her father's in the mafia. I'm being persecuted. And still, while painting himself as a victim, he was posting Instagram stories from Lake Tahoe, skiing in designer gear with Olivia clinging to his side, both of them wearing matching goggles and smug little smirks. Meanwhile, Ethan sat quietly at the kitchen table, punching numbers into a calculator for his math homework and asking, without looking up, "Does Dad still love us?" I didn't know how to answer that. So I said the only thing I truly believed. We love each other. That's what matters. But Ethan knew. He's 13, not stupid. He saw Alex hug Olivia near the auto shop one afternoon when his friend's mom dropped him off early. He saw the brand new car, the champagne flutes, the casual affection that his father couldn't muster for him in months. And he saw, too, the rage. The cold fury when Alex did show up, uninvited, unannounced, unhinged. He'd bang on the door demanding his rights, screaming that I was poisoning the kids against him. Not once did he ask Ethan about school. Not once did he kneel down and meet Liam's eyes and say, "Hey buddy, I missed you." Ethan's voice broke one night while we were folding laundry. He said, "Mom, I think Dad betrayed us. And I don't want to be like him." I turned away so he wouldn't see my face twist. He sounded like a man. But he was still just a boy. A boy who'd been forced to grow up too fast. Then the calls started. Silent ones. Late at night. The phone would ring once, twice. I'd pick up and hear nothing but breathing. Or worse, nothing at all. And when I blocked his number, he'd call from Olivia's. Or his mother's. Or a burner phone. He started telling people I stole documents from the business. That I was a monster mother. That I was keeping his children from him. That all I cared about was money. But I never wanted his money. I wanted his presence. His effort. His love. For the boys who still asked, "Will Daddy be here for Christmas?" even after he didn't show up last year. For Liam, who now hid behind my legs every time a man approached us on the street. For Ethan, who'd started sleeping with the door locked, who winced when someone raised their voice. I broke down once. Only once. It was after Liam's birthday, when Alex promised to stop by and bring cupcakes. We waited by the window for hours. Liam kept looking at the driveway, whispering he's probably just lost. But he wasn't. That night, I cried in the laundry room so the kids wouldn't hear me. Cried until my knees gave out and my breath hiccuped in ragged, choking gasps. Then I got up, wiped my face, and kept going. Because when you're a mother, your pain isn't yours to carry alone. It becomes armor. A shield. A lesson. One day, I ran into Alex near the school. He was standing near the gates as parents bustled by. When he saw Liam, he stepped forward and gave a soft, practiced smile. Liam stared at him, then ducked behind my back. Alex froze. Arms limp at his sides. He didn't call out. Didn't bend down. He didn't even bring a gift. Just stood there. Empty-handed. Like a shadow of a man I once loved. I didn't want a war. I wanted peace. I wanted to be the kind of ex-wife you could nod to across a school auditorium without tasting blood in your mouth. I wanted my sons to know that even if things broke between their parents, love didn't have to vanish like smoke. But Alex didn't want peace. He wanted control. Even if it meant burning everything around him, including the very people he claimed to love. It started small, offhand comments to mutual friends, insinuations. That I was poisoning the boys against him. That I was unstable. That I was using the system to ruin him. I'd hear it third and, always through someone with that tight, sympathetic smile that says I don't want to get involved but here's the grenade anyway. He's saying you don't let him see the kids. He said you're just bitter because he moved on. He said, you were dangerous. Dangerous. The word caught in my throat the first time I heard it. The same man who once wept into my shoulder when Ethan was born now painted me as a villain. But I stayed silent. Not because I had nothing to say, God, I had volumes, but because I knew that anything I did would be used against me. Until he filed another appeal. The third one. Each more ridiculous than the last. This time, he came to court dressed like he was playing a part. Second-hand jacket, scuffed shoes, and a new attorney with slick back hair and a taste for dramatic pauses. Alex spoke as if he were reciting a monologue. Your Honor, he said, placing a hand over his chest like some tragic widower, I love my children. But she's turned them against me. She and her father, they've used influence, money. I'm a simple man. A working man. Simple. This from the man who owned a condo overlooking the lake, had a custom-built whiskey cabinet, and vacationed in Santorini last summer. But the judge wasn't fooled. And neither was Ethan, who had begged to come that day. I hadn't wanted him there. 13 is too young to sit in a courtroom and watch your father try to erase his responsibility with crocodile tears. But Ethan insisted. He said, "I need to see it for myself, Mom." So he sat quietly in the back, shoulders square, jaw clenched. When the judge asked if the children had been influenced in any way, Alex's lawyer shot a look at me, then Ethan. "Your Honor," the lawyer said, "the oldest boy is clearly parroting his mother's bitterness." Ethan stood. Without asking. Without fear. "My father promised me a bike for my birthday," he said, voice steady. "He never came. He promised to take me to the water park. He never showed. He told me he missed me, then blocked my number." The courtroom held its breath. "I'm not brainwashed," Ethan continued. "I'm just not blind." The judge called a recess shortly after. I took Ethan's hand in mine as we stepped outside into the chill. He didn't cry. He didn't rage. He just exhaled like a man who had finally dropped a weight he carried for years. Later that night, Alex called. Not to apologize. Not to talk. He just breathed into the phone again. And then said, "You've ruined everything." "I've protected our children," I replied. "And if that ruins your lives, then so be it." He hung up. Days passed. Then weeks. Alex stopped trying. No more calls. No more appeals. Just silence. Until I saw the photo. Someone tagged Olivia at a resort, white sands, pink drinks, Alex in sunglasses, holding her close with that wide, easy grin I hadn't seen since before Liam was born. A smile built on destruction. Champagne flutes raised. Happiness curated like an art piece. And at home, Ethan sat on the couch, trying not to cry as he folded Liam's pajamas and asked, "Why doesn't he want us?" I knelt down, brushing a strand of hair from his face. "It's not about want," I whispered. "Some people only know how to love themselves." He nodded slowly. And that night, I heard him whisper to Liam through the thin walls, "Don't worry, buddy. You've still got me and Mom." And maybe that's what Alex will never understand. He gave up his sons to chase a version of freedom that meant having no one to answer to, no small hands tugging at his shirt, no teenage voice calling him out on his failures, no wife watching him unravel. But what he really gave up was legacy. Roots. The kind of love that shows up, even when it's hard, even when it's thankless, even when it hurts. I used to tell myself that healing would come quietly. That one morning I'd wake up and the ache in my chest would be gone. That the memory of Alex's voice, of his hands, of that night he walked away, would soften and fade like old bruises. But it doesn't work like that. Healing is messy. It's loud. It's expensive and exhausting and full of setbacks. It's crying in the grocery store when Liam asks for a toy you can't afford. It's screaming into your pillow at midnight when the bills pile up. It's looking in the mirror and barely recognizing the woman staring back. And yet, it's also rebuilding. One scraped knee, one half-eaten dinner, one hard-earned paycheck at a time. When Alex left, he didn't just abandon the boys. He left a crater. The mortgage was still in both our names, but the payments landed squarely on my shoulders. The fridge was empty more days than I'll admit. I pawned the wedding ring a week after the second appeal, trading 14 years of memories for enough to fix the car's transmission. I took a part-time admin job at a community clinic, then another cleaning offices at night. I slept maybe 3 hours a day. But I kept going. Because someone had to. Ethan started babysitting Liam after school. He learned how to cook pasta without burning it, how to check Liam's forehead for fever, how to call me if something felt wrong. He grew up faster than I ever wanted him to. But he never complained. Not once. I remember walking in one evening, coat soaked from the rain, every bone in my body screaming, and finding the boys curled up on the couch watching a nature documentary. Liam asleep. Ethan with a protective arm around him. "Mom," he whispered, not wanting to wake his brother, "I'm sorry you have to work so much." My throat burned. "No, baby. I'm sorry." For what? For trusting someone who didn't deserve us. We didn't talk about Alex much anymore. He had become a story we used to know. A name that flared occasionally in court papers or overheard conversations. Every few weeks, Olivia would post another smiling selfie, another lavish trip, another hollow caption. "Love is all you need." But there were cracks now. I'd started hearing murmurs from the old shop. That business was slowing. That he'd fired 2 of his original mechanics. That the investors were pulling out of the Chicago expansion. That Olivia had been spotted at a restaurant, alone. I didn't smile when I heard it. I didn't gloat. Because I no longer needed him to lose. I just needed us to win. The breakthrough came in the form of a dusty corner office at the clinic. My supervisor, a middle-aged nurse named Yvonne with sharp eyeliner and a sharper tongue, knocked on my desk one afternoon and said, "You're good at this. You ever think of getting certified?" I blinked. Certified for what? Billing. Office management. HR. Girl, you're already doing half the job. Might as well get paid like it. It sounded impossible. I couldn't afford classes. I barely had time to breathe. But that night, I looked at Ethan's sleeping face and something cracked open inside me, something I thought had died with my marriage. Hope. I found an online program. Took classes during lunch breaks and while Liam watched cartoons. I studied flashcards while folding laundry. Yvonne wrote me a recommendation. I passed the exams. And when the position opened up 6 months later, I got the promotion. It came with a new desk. Benefits. A raise that let me buy Ethan those basketball shoes he'd been eyeing for months without wincing at the receipt. We weren't rich, but we were stable. And in a world that had once collapsed beneath my feet, that felt like a miracle. Ethan began smiling again. Not the guarded, polite kind he gave to teachers or strangers, but real, boyish, messy grins. He joined the school band, made honor roll, asked if he could help volunteer at the clinic over the summer. And Liam, he started drawing. All the time. Crayon scribbles taped to every inch of our fridge. Pictures of our family, always with 3 stick figures. Always with sunshine. Always with a house drawn solid and square. One evening, I found him coloring alone, brow furrowed. "What a drawing, baby?" I asked. He looked up. "A superhero family." I smiled. "And who's the superhero?" He blinked. "You are." That night, I cried for the first time in months. Not out of pain, but gratitude. Because even though Alex had left us with nothing, no safety net, no comfort, no remorse, we were building something stronger than he ever could have given us. We were building us. It was almost 2 years to the day since Alex walked out when I saw him again. Not the accidental sightings near the school gates or his car parked at the edge of the soccer field, but really saw him. Close enough to smell the aftershave he always overused. Close enough to notice the gray creeping into his temples. The clinic had just wrapped a community health drive. I was boxing leftover flyers when the front desk buzzed. Emily, the receptionist, said over the intercom, her voice taut, "There's someone asking for you. He says he's family." I knew before she finished the sentence. Something in the way the air shifted. That familiar acidic tightening in my stomach. I walked out into the waiting room and there he was. Alex. He stood by the door, hands shoved deep into the pockets of his windbreaker, eyes scanning the room like he might change his mind and bolt. His skin looked tired. His eyes duller. And for the first time in years I noticed that his confidence, the cocky, swaggering grin, was gone. He looked small. Like a man who'd finally run out of stories to tell himself. "Emily," he said, his voice hoarse. I folded my arms. "What do you want?" He swallowed. "Can we talk?" "Just for a minute." I nodded toward the parking lot. "Out there." "Not here." We walked out into the weak spring sunlight, standing beneath a tree that was just beginning to bud. The silence stretched between us, thick and uncomfortable. He didn't look at me. Just kept shifting his weight like a boy about to get scolded. "Olivia left," he said finally. I didn't answer. She said I wasn't who she thought I was. Still, I said nothing. He rubbed the back of his neck. "Business is tanking. I trusted the wrong people. Chicago branch went under. Investors pulled out. The IRS is crawling all over me. I messed everything up, Em. You think I don't know that?" I said quietly. "You think I haven't been cleaning up your mess every single day for the past 2 years?" His mouth opened, then shut again. He couldn't meet my eyes. "I want to see the boys," he said, softer now. "I know I've been absent." "Absent?" I laughed bitterly. "You didn't miss a holiday. You erased them. You chose champagne and plane tickets in poolside photos while your son was crying himself to sleep asking why daddy didn't love him anymore." He winced. I know I messed up. But I'm trying to make things right now." "No, Alex. You're trying because you lost everything else. Because the shiny life you left us for cracked open and now you're standing in the ruins, wondering who will pull you out. It won't be me. And it won't be them. I still love them." "Do you?" I said, sharper than I meant to. Because love is more than words. It's presence. It's showing up. It's staying through the hard parts, not just the Instagram ones. He looked up then, really looked at me. And for a flicker of a second I saw it, regret. Not the performative kind he used in court, but the raw, bleeding kind. The kind that comes when you realize the people you left behind didn't stay frozen in your absence. They grew. And you didn't. I saw Ethan last week, he whispered. At the gas station. He was with a friend. He saw me. And he turned away. Like I was a stranger. You are, I said. Tears welled in his eyes, but I didn't offer comfort. I couldn't. Not after what he'd done. I thought freedom meant no obligations, he murmured. No one needing me. No guilt. But now I wake up and no one cares if I'm breathing. I stared at him. That's not freedom, Alex. That's emptiness. He nodded slowly, eyes glassy. Can I at least write to them? I let the silence linger. Then said, I'll ask Ethan. But you'll respect his answer. And Liam, he barely remembers you, Alex. You'll need to earn his trust. I will. I hope you mean that, I said. Because if you don't, if this is another performance, I swear to God I will protect my boys for me with everything I have left. His eyes widened. And maybe for the first time he believed me. We didn't hug. There was no soft music, no dramatic reconciliation. He just turned and walked away. And I stood under that budding tree, heart racing not with sadness but with something quieter. Something firmer. Power. Because I had done it. I had taken a shattered life and rebuilt it piece by piece. I hadn't just survived. I had risen. And now the man who once made me feel small couldn't even hold my gaze. The first letter arrived a week later. A plain white envelope tucked among coupons and medical bills. The return address was scrawled in a handwriting I hadn't seen in over a year, uneven, like he'd hesitated with every letter. It was addressed to Ethan. I stood in the kitchen holding it, my hands trembling slightly. Not out of fear. Out of uncertainty. Because this was new territory. Not a courtroom or voicemail or social media smear. This was paper. Tangible. Unavoidable. When Ethan came home from school, I placed the envelope on the kitchen table. He saw it immediately. His eyes flicked from the letter to my face. Is it from him? I nodded. He didn't touch it at first. Just stared like it might explode. Then slowly he sat down, tore the envelope at the corner, and pulled out 2 sheets of lined paper. He read in silence. His face didn't change. Not once. When he was done, he placed the letter back on the table, carefully like it was made of glass. Then he looked at me. He says he's sorry, Ethan said, voice flat. Says he was confused. Says Olivia lied to him. Says he made mistakes. I waited. I didn't speak. I wanted to know what he would say. He wrote that he misses me. That he thinks about me and Liam every day. A pause. He said he cried when he saw me at the gas station. Do you believe him? Ethan thought about it. Really thought. I believe he thinks he means it, he said. But I don't know if it's enough. I nodded. You don't have to respond. I know, Ethan said. But I think I will. I blinked. You sure? Yeah, he said. Not because I forgive him. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I want him to know who I am now. Who we are. And what he missed. That night he sat down with one of my old yellow legal pads and started writing. No drafts. No hesitations. His letter was simple, blunt, and far more mature than any 13-year-old should have to be. He wrote, Dad, you missed my band concert. You missed when Liam broke his arm and I held him while he screamed. You missed my science fair, my first A in math, and the day I stopped believing in you. I'm not saying this to hurt you. I'm saying it so you understand. You left. That was your choice. But rebuilding something doesn't mean saying sorry. It means showing up. And right now I'm not ready to see you. Maybe I will be. Maybe not. But if you want a chance, write to Liam. He still draws you with a smile. Don't ruin that too. Ethan. He folded it, sealed it, and gave it to me to mail. A week later, another envelope came. This time addressed to Liam. It was clumsier. Filled with cartoon stickers and childish drawings, an awkward attempt at fatherhood, like a man trying to remember a language he'd long forgotten. Liam giggled as he opened it, his chubby fingers smudging the ink. Mommy, Daddy drew me as a superhero, he said, eyes shining. I sat beside him, heart twisting. He didn't remember the yelling. He didn't remember the missed birthdays or the crying nights. Liam still loved without conditions. That evening he drew a picture back, 2 stick figures, one small, one tall, both wearing capes. He signed it with backward letters and asked me to send it to Daddy's mailbox. I did. And for weeks after, letters flowed like a quiet river. Always separate. One for Ethan. One for Liam. Sometimes drawings, sometimes poems, sometimes just half-hearted apologies. I monitored them. Not because I didn't trust the content. Alex never once crossed the line. But because I needed to protect the space my boys had built for themselves. This was their healing now, not mine. One day, Ethan asked, "Do you think he's changed?" I didn't lie. I think he's trying to be the man he pretended to be for a long time. But trying doesn't erase what came before. Ethan nodded. Then I'll keep writing. Not because I want him back. But because I want him to know. He doesn't get to forget. As for me, I started dreaming again. Not in the passive way you daydream at red lights, but in the deep electric way that makes you reach for things you never thought you deserved. I applied to a university. Nights only. One class at a time. Social work. Because if surviving taught me anything, it's that some women carry invisible battle scars. And maybe I can help the next mother find her footing while the world tries to erase her. Alex never apologized to me. Not directly. But maybe he didn't need to anymore. I didn't need his closure. I had my sons. I had a job I was proud of. I had a kitchen table covered in crayon drawings and band concert flyers and acceptance emails. He lost a family. I found myself. There's a photo on our fridge now, one that Liam drew last week. It shows our house, a crooked sun in the corner, and 3 smiling stick figures standing out front. One of them has spiky hair. The smallest one has blue shoes. And the one in the middle? She's wearing a crown. That's you, Liam told me proudly. Me? I asked. Why the crown? Because you're the queen of our family. It undid me, that one sentence. More than all the apologies I never got. More than every court victory and every letter filled with borrowed remorse. Because in the end I didn't win a war. I built a kingdom. It's quiet here. Not empty, just peaceful. A kind of quiet that isn't absence but rest. The boys laugh again. Real laughter. The kind that rattles walls and sends juice spilling and makes me yell from the kitchen. Careful with the couch. The kind I thought we lost forever. Ethan just turned 14. He didn't want a big party. Just pizza, his 2 best friends, and a movie night. After they fell asleep on the living room floor, I found him curled up in the corner, earbuds in, eyes wide open. I sat down beside him. You okay? He nodded. Just thinking. About what? He hesitated. Then whispered. He sent another letter. I felt my stomach tighten. Do you want to talk about it? He shrugged. He said he wants to come visit. For real. Said he'd drive in and take us to lunch. Asked if I'd let him. I didn't say anything. I told him maybe. I told him if he came with expectations or tears or a fake smile not to bother. But if he came just to sit and listen and be real, I'd think about it. And do you want him to come? I don't know yet, Ethan said. But I like that I got to choose. That was everything, really. For so long we'd been forced to endure. The courts. The silence. The betrayal. But now? Ethan had choice. Liam had security. And I had agency. One Sunday afternoon, I packed the boys into the car and drove to the edge of town. There's a little used bookstore tucked between a laundromat and a pawn shop. The kind of place that smells like paper and secrets. I found a copy of The Velveteen Rabbit, the same book I used to read to Ethan when he was small. His body curled against mine, his breath warm on my neck. He pulled it off the shelf. You used to cry when you read this. I still would, I said. Because it's sad? No. Because it's true. We bought it. Liam carried it to the car like it was made of gold. At home, I tucked it into the shelf beside my college textbooks, books on psychology, counseling, child welfare. My nights are filled with assignments now. My brain stretching in ways it hasn't since before motherhood swallowed my time whole. Sometimes, when the boys are asleep, I sit at the kitchen table with a cup of tea and reread those letters from Alex. The ink has smudged in places. The words still sting. But they don't have power anymore. He came once, you know. Just once. We met at a diner halfway between our towns. I told him he could see Ethan but not Liam. Not yet. He brought no gifts. No grand speeches. Just a nervous energy and a face that seemed older. Not from age. From regret. Ethan talked. He listened. There were no tears. Just silence and then slow, careful sentences like someone trying to speak a language they used to know. Afterward, in the parking lot, Alex turned to me and said, "Thank you for not turning him into me." I didn't answer. He doesn't come around much now. Sends cards. A call here and there. He's rebuilding something somewhere else, I think. I wish him peace. I really do. Because my peace doesn't depend on his failure anymore. It lives in Ethan's steady gaze and Liam's soft humming while he colors, in my own breath when I lie down at night and know with absolute certainty. We survived. Not as victims, but as warriors who laid down their swords and chose to build something better. I don't wear the crown Liam drew for me, but I carry it. Every day. In the way I stand taller. In the way I demand truth. In the way I love without apology but also without blindness. This is our story. It's messy, honest, unfinished, but it's ours. And we're still writing it, one hard, one beautiful page at a time.